Hi. Hi, I'm David Ramey, founder and sort of winemaker at Ramey Wine Cellars. And thank you all for having a dinner with our wines tonight. I'm going to talk about the wines for just 15 minutes. I'm looking at the clock right there. And then you're going to enjoy these wines with your meal. So I want to say hi to the Wine Vault team. Thanks a bunch. Carl and I did a couple of dinners, I think, 2 nights in a row, maybe 3-4 years ago, something like that. And then Chef, I understand Chef was at the Lodge at Torrey Pines, and he's doing the cooking tonight, so that's tremendous. We've enjoyed eating at A.R. Valentine's a lot, and we'll be back someday when we can when we can travel again. So you've got 3 of our wines tonight for 3 courses. The first one is a Chardonnay. It's a 2017 Chardonnay from the larger Sonoma Coast appellation and the smaller, relatively new Fort Ross Seaview appellation. And that's out on what people sometimes call the true Sonoma Coast. It's on Bohen Dillon Road. It's a vineyard. It's a single vineyard. It's a vineyard that our friends, the Martinellis, own and farm. Lee Martinelli Jr. His mother's, Carolyn's father, Mr. Charles, planted it in 1982. That's why it's called the Charles Ranch. And we get most of that fruit. The Martinellis keep a little bit for themselves, and then they sell a little bit to Carlo Mondavi for his Rayan brand. Now, all of the wines we're talking about and that you're enjoying tonight are made the old-fashioned way. I worked in France. I worked in Bordeaux twice, 79 and 89. Right Bank, Pomerol, Mouex organization. And then I spent a lot of time in Burgundy. I didn't work there, but I spent a lot of time talking to my friends, going to conferences, focus on Chardonnay, etc. So this is sort of all of our wines are native yeast fermented, native malolactic fermentation, and unfiltered. We don't own a filter. So that's true about all 3 of these wines that you're going to enjoy this evening. The Chardonnays I call neo-Burgundian or neoclassical. What does that mean? It means straight to press, no skin contact. In our case, it's whole cluster pressing, what the French call méthode champenois. That serves to minimize the tannins in the wine, the sort of potentially bitter compounds. So we'll get a smoother, more delicate mouthfeel. And then all barrel fermented, not a lot of new oak. I have a cheat sheet here. Only 17% new oak, so the percent new oak matches the vintage in this case, so it's easy to remember. And this wine spends 12 months on the yeast lees in the barrel, and then the malo happens by itself. Again, we don't add any bibacteria or anything. It happens. Let me just editorialize. Malolactic fermentation, which is bacterial, like yogurt bacteria, they eat the malic acid, turn it into lactic. It's gotten a bit of a bad name there's been some Chardonnays in California, very fat, oaky, buttery style. It's not our style, I think you'll see. But all wine goes through malolactic if left alone. It just does by itself. So you have to intervene to block the malo. So the malolactic Chardonnay is not an insidious plot by activist California winemakers to make buttery Chardonnay. All white Burgundy goes through malo. So all Chablis goes through malo, and some champagnes go through malo too. I mean, real champagne in France. So anyway, this is that way, and then. We fine it with some fining agents, a little casein, a little isinglass, a little bentonite to clarify and smooth the tannins, and then we bottle it without filtration. So nicely clear in the glass, you can see through it. Nice color. It's a yellow. It's not gold. There's no tan, no brown. This wine has a long life ahead of it, and I would call your attention to the acidity. There's some prominent acidity, and I'm not quite sure exactly if you have both of these on your plate or if it's a choice. It looks like there was some halibut in almond brown butter sauce. There's also some little chicken salad. This wine would go with either of those, whichever you chose, or if you have both on your plate. So anyway, I'm going to take a taste quickly. You know, it's partly because of the acidity. It's a Chardonnay that you can enjoy by itself, but it really comes alive with food. And so, whichever of those first courses you have, I think is going to be a great pairing. And chef, you're working with a really good chef tonight. He knows what he's doing. So, this is the point. I wish that we were together so you could ask me questions about everything I just said, but we'll move ahead to introduce the second wine. Now, you vegetarians in the audience are lucky tonight because Chef has whipped up a vegetable Wellington with mushroom demi, but that mushroom demi in particular is going to make this rich enough to go with red wine, and the roasting of the vegetables too. You know, like when you roast carrots, it makes them kind of chewy and meaty and brings out the savory aspect. That's my favorite way. Although sometimes we put them on the grill too. Comes out almost the same. Gives a chewy density to the vegetables, particularly root vegetables. So Claret's a Cabernet blend for us, and it's a blend we put on the back of the bottle. I'm not much for back labels, but here we do put the varieties so that people can tell. This one is 52% Cabernet Sauvignon, so just barely. You know, to be labeled a variety in the U.S., it has to be 75%. This is only 52, but then there's 26% Merlot and 12% Malbec, 8% Syrah, and 2% Petit Verdot. We always put a little Syrah into our Claret. Claret's an English word. It's not a French word. It's not claret. It's not claret. The English called it that back when they used to bottle all the Bordeaux, all the Claret in London. It came in casks on boats, and then they bottled them there. So this is a kind of a softer, gentler Cabernet. This is 2016. This is Napa Valley, all Napa Valley, and so it's a little softer, and it should be a really nice match for this vegetable Wellington, this rich, robust vegetable dish. Not much oak in that, only 13% new oak. Now, we're going to move to the third course wine, which is your short rib wine, and this is a Syrah. Now, many of you don't have a great familiarity with Syrah, and some of you maybe even think you don't like it, and I hope that this wine and this course can change your opinion on that. First off, let me explain that the Australians have screwed things up by calling Syrah Shiraz, and so many of you are wondering, well, Shiraz, Syrah, is that same grape? Yes, it is, okay. And then the other thing is that Syrah is kind of a chameleon grape. In really warm climates like the Barossa Valley in Australia, yeah, you can make jam in the bottle, 16, 17% alcohol Shirazes. Bob Parker liked some of those. If you grow Syrah in a cooler climate, it brings out its savory aspects, peppercorn, bacon fat, smoked meat, green olive, grapefruit. And I just think I love that savory expression. So ours is a Sonoma Coast Syrah, so a cooler expression. The home of Syrah, the main home of Syrah traditionally is the Rhone Valley in France, and in the northern Rhone Valley, that's where Syrah is dominant. So Côte-Rôtie, Hermitage, Cornas, and then a little bit you've got Crozes-Hermitage across the river, and Saint-Joseph. And then in the southern Rhone, that's different. That's Châteauneuf-du-Pape, Gigondas. That's Grenache-based wines with some Syrah, some Mourvèdre, some Cinsault, some Cunoise, etc. So this is more aligned with the style of a Côte Rôtie or an Hermitage. It's not exactly like that because just like they can't make Sonoma Coast Chardonnay, we can't make Hermitage in California. But there's some commonalities, those flavor descriptors I was talking about. And then as you taste it, it's almost, it reminds me of almost of Pinot Noir, of a particularly rich Pinot Noir. So there's a softness to it. It's got structure and tannin, but it's a plusher mouthfeel than young Cabernet of a similar age. With that said, I hope you enjoy all these wines. Buy them through the Wine Vault. You can contact us directly, rameywine.com. We're family owned and operated. There's no hedge funds or minority partners or anything. We're in Healdsburg, which is that in Sonoma County. It's the coolest town in wine country. Healdsburg is. We're having some issues this year. You may be aware why I'm not with you with a pandemic, a worldwide pandemic, the consequent recession. The restaurants being closed and outdoor dining only, and we have trouble receiving visitors. And then now there's been some fires, but we'll get through this. And cheers. Enjoy your evening.